So, as you know, I am a front-end developer. So,
Yes.
I was very curious about how API works and everything about API. So, I have worked with a couple of APIs like to fetch data and everything, but I don't know like how its architecture, how API's architecture is, or how can we deep dive into it. So, can you guide me through it?
Yeah, sure. I have been working with like APIs for a long period of time, right? When the place where I'm currently in, I have to deal with a lot of things within the API. It's like usually when we were in college, we used to like have something like we used to get 20, 30 response or 20, 30 entries in the response. But the place where I work right now, it's like in a single API call, you get almost millions of response. And it's just that the response that they have is in a completely JSON format. So what we were told in college is like there is only a JSON format. We were actually not told. As a developer point of view, it's only like there is a single format. It's like JSON format that is being returned as a response. But there are like a couple of things which I got to know when I went to like these conferences or like the workshops that I attend usually on the weekends. It's like uh, not only there is REST API that is present. There are two more ways. There is one called SOAP and one called GraphQL. And GraphQL, I guess, many of the people who are watching this currently may know about it if they have worked anything on Hashnode. Because in my developer portfolio that I've made right now, it's like I have integrated the GraphQL, and it's comparatively a lot easier to get the data from the GraphQL rather than getting from REST API.
Okay.
Because it's like on REST API, what you're getting is you have to pass the queries like question mark and all those things. But here it's like you are passing the query as a JSON.
Okay.
So I'll just show you. It's like if you have a collection, let's say it's like collection name, and inside that there would be a sub thing. Okay. So it would be like just like this. By the way, I have enabled Copilot access, which is for free given by GitHub right now. So it's like you have a collection, and inside that collection there would be a not sub collection, but sub entry.
Okay.
And you are just passing here. I'm just getting this like ID1. I don't want the ID, so I'll just have this, and I'll pass $1 here. So it's like I want to have the ID, the type, the attributes, and the name. Let's say for now, I just want the ID and type. So this is how I can get data via, GraphQL format.
Okay. It's something like we are using a variable or some
Yeah.
sort.
So it's comparatively a lot easier that I've seen to get the data and it's also something new. It's not completely what we know and what we have been studying for a period of time. So yeah, I've been working with a lot of APIs. In fact, it's like what if developers that start from their early age, like not early age, who started from like their first year, they follow a certain pattern. Okay, like we are given a certain pattern to be followed in terms of how the architecture is, or like how the REST API works, representational state transfer. So there is a format that each and everyone follows, and it's completely right. What I used to think earlier was like, no, when going to a particular industry or when you are going to a corporate market, the things would have changed. But so far now, working like 4 months over there, things have not changed yet. It's the same that we do in our regular day-to-day basis. It's just that the data there is huge.
Okay.
Usually we have 20 entries while we are working in on a local environment.
Yeah.
There it's like you have to work in a production environment, and the code that you write should be production ready. Hence, there is a big difference in the tech stack they use.
Okay.
Like if you are like a JS developer, you cannot actually go for JavaScript in a production ready code.
Oh, okay.
So there
Why
is
so? Why
some.
so?
It's like in JavaScript, you are not. Let's say I have for example, this is a JSON file, but I'm not going towards that particular thing. It's like, let's say you are having a response that you are getting, which has a ID, you have a name, and let's say you have an age. Okay. As a developer, we know that ID would be a number, name would be a string, and age would be also a number.
Okay.
And what happens is sometimes, and I guess you would have come across that, like when you are working on a development server, it works completely fine. But when you are trying to like host it, sometimes it would be like in the ID also it would be getting you the string value. Sometimes.
Yes.
So there like there is something called like defining the type.
Okay. Oh, type safety.
Type safety.
Okay.
So that is something what we get in TypeScript. So it's like if you are getting this, so in TypeScript there is something called interface response I create, where I'll have ID number, name, string, and age also the number. So what would happen is whenever I get a particular response, any kind of response, it would first do the type safety, and after that it would give us the value. I guess the framework that we are using there is something called Nest.js.
Okay.
So these are like the frameworks that are particularly in TypeScript, and that's a major difference that I have seen working in a corporate where the type safety is taken care a lot.
Okay. So actually, I'm also working in a startup, by the way, and we are working on JS environment. We were told to learn about TypeScript for type safety, but we got an easy alternative for that. We are just using JS doc. So basically, JS doc, what it's doing is it's giving us and commenting and a type safety layer on JS environment. Okay. So basically, we are using JS variables, just commenting over it. Key, it's a string or number or an object or anything. So basically, it will give us type safety on a whole development environment or on the whole project.
Okay.
Whole project. So we don't need to like separately. We are saying that it is string only. So if we define it's a string, it will not accept a number.
Okay. So like the particular files are in JS.js only.
Yeah, .js only.
Okay.
Just it's a package JS doc. Just we have to comment over that line. Like we are writing response ID and stuff. We are writing that comment over this line. The ID is a number, name is a string, and age is a number. So that way we can get type safety. And one more thing before that, you told about GraphQL queries. It's a new thing for me because I always used to call an API and I got get an object. So I think that GraphQL is much better and easy way to get an.
I'll actually show you. I have my portfolio code as well. I'll just show the portfolio code, wherein you will actually see like the way it is working or the way you are making any queries. Like will be like this is much easier than creating a particular response type or getting a query in the API. So then there it would be, I don't know, because I have created a lot of projects. I have created a lot of portfolio websites. You might know better than me. So it would be new portfolio. I guess this one. Yes. Just a second. I'll just open it over here. So it would be in the I guess the block page. And this is like completely in TypeScript. So this is like a query, and you'll be like, bro, it's so easy. This is basically the public. It's like the name that you have to pass. Like this is what I saw from the Hashnode. The documentation. They're like query publication. Publication would be the ones that it is present in the Hashnode's server. Okay. So you are calling that publication, and what would be the hostname? Okay. So like the hostname is the Hashnode name of our coding Adda. And then what do you want? I want the first 15 posts. Okay. And there is something called edges. And inside that, there are something called node.
Nodes. Okay.
A node consists of title, brief, URL, published image, and cover image.
Okay. So basically, in Node, you are specifying what all parameters do you need in a blog, in a particular blog, single blog. Oh, that's great.
So it's like you are getting all these things. But if you see into Node and the response type that you get, if we see here, so if it's like let's say response type is the all I'll tell just the Copilot give a sample response of a blog where I have ID, author, title, content. Why do you want to work so hard where you can actually get AI to do everything? So here, if we see, I'll just remove this. See, this is for a particular, a single block.
Single block.
But when we are talking about multiple blocks, it would be in an array of objects.
Yes.
So in like a traditional scenario, what do we do is first map it,
Yes.
and then go from blog.id, then blog.title.
Yeah.
But the one thing you do here is that no need of blog.title. Just go and print title. If you see here, I guess it would be post.node.coverimage.url. Obviously, there would be since these are into like objects, but rather than going for that approach, I personally find this approach as a better one because it's completely new and I kind of like exploring and going with the new things.
Yeah. So basically, if I say my perspective or a layman's perspective, basically you are specifying what you want in their like their response. Basically, they have multiple saying everything, but you are saying that I want this much blogs data. I'm specifying that I want name, title, cover image, URL, etc. Basically, you are getting a flexibility where you can define what you want and what not.
Yeah, so this was one thing, and one more thing. It was like that thing I had actually blew my mind. I was at one of the TechX events in Bangalore, and there was the speaker that he came and he was talking about this like React only. And one thing that he told, and I was like, bro, this can be a very different approach. Because usually what happens is, if in talking about in terms of like a fresher developer only, or a college guy who's in the second, third year doing the backend programming or front-end programming as well. So usually what we do is when we, let's say we are having like the status codes like 200, 404, 401 and all those. What happens is when we are not getting that kind of a response, like if we get status as 404. So what we do in front end is if response.status is equal to 404, then that render this component.
Yes.
When that guy explained things, I was like, bro, how is it possible? Or it's possible, but why didn't it come in my mind?
Yeah.
So what he did was like, let's say we are having a sample JSON file, and in that JSON file, there are things like, let's say a page, we have a page. Okay. The page is, this would be a component, okay? Or a page, let's say it would be the home page. Page, or let's say, let's keep it as auth page. Okay. We are having an auth page.
Okay.
And it has various things like we are having a success and we are having a failure code. So what he did was like in that particular page, how many response code would exist? Okay. So let's see about it. First would be if the authentication is successful.
Yeah, 200.
Then if not found, 404.
404. Yeah.
If
redirect to 3OT. 3OT. Oh, sorry, 302.
302.
Yeah.
3. Like let's say we are having I'll just write it down. 200, 404, and 302. Okay. What he did was here he had made a key of status code.
Okay.
And see what I was trying to explain is what Copilot has given me. What he did was He's like, why are you going into front end and changing everything? Wherein like you are obviously increasing the lines of code that they have,
Yes.
and in turn, sometimes affecting the performance. So it's like better. What do you do if the status code is 200? Because you cannot always have a key. You always have a value for it. Like for this status code, this is a main key, and here we have this like sub key values. So he's like, when you have this, why don't you directly pass the component over? Okay. So it's like this is the success component that we have, this is the not found, and this is the redirect.
Yes.
So this is like you can obviously pass the components over here, or else it's like if you're a React developer, you would know this.
Yes.
You can directly pass not this, but
path basically.
you can basically pass the path. So it's like your work is being done so easily.
Yeah.
And I asked him, like, I'm like, would there be any issue in the performance? He's like, if you are having a very base project, or if you're having working on very something very basic, there won't be any issue. But if you are working into like some scalable projects, then you would be like you have to handle according to the performance.
Okay.
And it was not in terms of like no, it was in terms of the status code as well. Like based on the status code, you can redirect. But also, what we see if we are making any project. So if we have a React project, so what we have in React is first we have this would be the obvious structure, nav bar. Then it would be the header.
Yeah.
HEADER. Then it would be something like the hero section.
Yeah.
Okay, and then let's say last in at we have about. Okay. Services. Okay. No, I don't want this. Footer. See, this is what we are doing is we are directly, we can say we are hard coding everything.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
There would be a different approach for this as well.
Okay.
So what that guy told is like, rather than doing this, it's like whenever your page is loading or rendering, all of these components are rendering one by together when the page is loading, because usually in React, the app.jsx is the only file that is being rendered.
Yes.
So, and when it is rendered, you will get all this rendered, but like together.
Okay.
But if you want, like when you scroll, that time the thing should be rendered, something like that.
Okay.
What he did was he passed all this as key value pairs in an API.
Okay.
So that thing also can help you in optimizing your website's performance. Because what happens is here, see, we are for a very small scale startup or very small projects, this can be done.
Yes.
There's no need for going for any complex approach. Like you can eat food like this. You don't need to eat food like this. But when there is need to eat food like this, you can actually go with a very different way, wherein you can render the component based on where your the XY coordinates you have on your front end.
So basically you are doing like if that component's area comes in the viewport, then you are rendering it.
Yeah. Because at that time only your component will be rendered.
Okay.
So like initially if we have like this, let's say when loading I want only my navbar to be rendered. Okay, it will be rendered. But when I come to header, like when I scroll, the header should be rendered. I know that
this is like a new approach to me. And one more thing that you mentioned was I didn't know we can pass components in API.
I also did. I actually talked with him for like an hour. I'm like, bro, how do you come up with this approach? It's like when you get into the industry, when you are actually core into these kind of things, you actually learn about it. I'm like, please, let's have a conversation. Let's sit together. So yeah, it was something very different to me as well. I'm like,
actually, to be frank, whenever I only worked in my final year with full stack project. That was my final year project, Ecliptic. So in that, I did the same thing. Like I am passing status codes, but I am rendering everything according to the status code in front end. Yeah. Now you are giving the solution. It's mind blowing, by the way.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know we can pass components in API, and I was wondering that there are many packages or many services that provide us component. I was wondering how the hell they are giving their component in API, because I thought that there was only string and numbers in API. Yeah, according to that we have to manipulate and do stuff. But this is a new approach.
Yeah. So that was one thing that actually blew my mind. I was like, bro, how can you actually go with it, and how can you actually think like this can be an approach? But that was also a new thing. And what I think is like, as developers are at this point of time, API is something that is, the core. Like for anything, whenever if we are putting a prompt on the chat GPT, without API, it won't be possible.
Yes, that's true.
And that's one thing that actually blew my mind, because initially I thought like no, web would be going away with the rise of AI. But then when I had some conversation with some of my colleagues, some of my seniors, they're like, no, web would be there would be like it is like eternal, just like
that's
what
true,
Thanos
Yeah.
said. So not eternal, it was inevitable.
Inevitable.
I am inevitable.
Yeah,
So it's like when you make an AI model as well, and when you want to have a conversation with them, you obviously need an API,
yeah.
because you need to connect the client and the server.
Yes.
So API, I think it's one of the very core things for any kind of a developer or any industry.
Or any communication between any application.
That is one thing that has actually kept me thinking a lot. And I am
Yes.
thinking, I find ways to, try to find out what are the different ways of getting an API
Yes.
or calling an API, because usually it's like REST API was there, and then it came the GraphQL. I was not much aware about the SOAP part. I got just understood during my college time.
XML कौन ही करेगा?
Yeah, so and XML is obviously it's like not confusing, but it's like no, it's better I don't do it. So yeah, that's about API.
Before crossing path with API stuff, I used to think that we make an application. We make an application in single project. We create a data.json file or a data file, anything, and we are importing that data through that file. Okay, I didn't know that we are communicating like this.
This is what we did during our early, like freelancing projects.
Yes, actually. So about API, I know that many industries use API and they have their own API. Okay, and you have worked with multiple APIs. But one more thing is documenting it is a big part. So, like how or what is the best practice of documenting it? After that, we can talk about how we can make an API.
I haven't been into like documenting that API, like not being into the technical writing part. But recently I have been into, not recently, like I have been following Hitesh Chaudhary. He's like, sir, he has been giving a lot of things to the community, and he has something called freeapi.org. He has like, it's a community based project.
Okay.
So it's like you can actually document your own API, and they have basically given you a template. And I guess if I can show you over here, I'm not sure, but let's see. And it was like, it actually blew me. I'm like, bro, how is that possible? Like freeapi.org. If I'm not wrong, this would be the free API Hitesh Chaudhary. Yeah, your own API hub. I was like, bro, not free API hub, freeapi.app, sorry. So it's like you can get to learn, and you can get to understand everything on like API. Let's say if you want to get users, so they have made everything. So because these are like some, you can say, common, not boilerplate, but these are some of the common methods that people use. Like if you create any kind of e-commerce website or any kind of website, so you need you need a particular user, random user. So they have actually mentioned a lot of things.
So this is a great place to learn about API.
Yeah, so it's like you can actually host your own API. It's like you have to go through this entire documentation. And you can,
Basically, this is a gateway where you can
yeah,
display our own APIs or
yeah. And I recently gone through Hashnode docs. Because and Hashnode team, if you are looking for collaborations, but I have come across Hashnode docs. It's like they have created a completely different product section wherein you can actually create your own docs.
Oh, okay.
So rather than going to an HTML page,
Yeah.
writing everything, you can actually get everything on Hashnode docs. And a lot of people whom I know use this, and it's like a pretty good pace because you can actually get everything. Yeah, it's not about writing on the entire HTML. You can like if you want to see, you can go to Hashnode docs on
basically
Google.
giving an easy way to document
Yeah.
everything.
And it's like they have given a platform. You just have to go and
Yes.
do the
Type it
third.
out. Yeah.
And everything is like obviously taken care of. Obviously, you need to go with that database part. Like obviously, they are giving things like it won't be for free. So they have made a pretty good job at doing that Hashnode docs part. So these are the two things that I know of and came across. But obviously, there would be a lot of open source tools that can help it. So yeah, that can be one thing. Using Notion can be a good choice.
Yeah.
And I guess you were talking about some open source tool on like this documentation. Maybe in the startup.
Obsidian,
Yeah. Because in your startup, your sir is.
Wiki.js. Okay.
Yeah.
Wiki.js.
So
that's also a great open source project which you can host on your server.
So that's the thing about documentation. I have not been into, but I like when we are also in that process of making some of our own projects, like back in coding Adda. So we'll be entering towards that documentation part. So there we'll be sharing, bro, documentation lag rahi hai hamari. So yeah, we'll be sharing our views on that as well.
Yes. But actually, if you notice, documentation is a major part in our development process and everything. If we see, we have to document our front end, we have to document our back end, our journey and everything. But one more thing is like we have documentation on internet, but we don't read it because I see the reason is they don't know how to approach it. Maybe, yeah. So according to you, how should we approach an API? Like I have used CoinGecko's API, and that their documentation is vast.
Okay.
Like very big. So, and one more thing, there was a post in LinkedIn that there is an opening and their assessment was through like making a Figma file. Converting that Figma file into a React project using CoinGecko's API. But at that time, I didn't know, or I never read any API documentation.
Correct, yeah.
So at that time, I was overwhelmed and I didn't know how to read it, and so I just through that idea, like I have to clear that assessment and left it away. So what do you think, how can we approach that document or how to read that document?
I think that a lot of people or like this is like a problem that people don't understand, and I was also, it's not like I always tell about this problem. I was also once a part of that problem, and now I'm not. The thing was when I joined Synopsys, it was like you have to have your developer tools part open, and that's what people don't do anytime when they are developing any projects.
Yes.
And that's where I've seen like almost 90% of your problem is solved for debugging. And in that, the network panel.
Oh, okay.
Because that's where the API is being called, that's where the response is being made, and response is being generated. You get the status code there as well. So what I see is before going into the documentation, you can almost get what your API looks like or what your response looks like in your network panel of the developer tool section.
Okay.
Because that's where you can get entire thing like request. What is the request? What is the the cache that is being stored? What is the status code that is being made? What is the payload that is being done? How much time is it taking?
Okay.
Like you as you told, I guess in the last dev exchange you told something about throttling. Throttling the network.
Yeah.
You can obviously see, like, yeah, this is how the API is working when on like fast network or slow network.
Okay. Yeah.
And talking about going or understanding how a particular documentation is to be read, I would just say that start with that getting started page. Because what people do is like, I am having this error, like that slash user slash ID, this API is not working. So they'll just go onto the documentation and they'll just see for that API. And there would be sometimes they would understand what is written, and if they won't understand what is written, they'd be like, "Bhai, kya API, kya documentation bana hai?" So what I would say is like just go into the getting started section to get to understand how that structure is,
Okay. Yeah.
because a lot of things are mentioned there, and due to some laziness of some people, they don't like go. They're like, "रहने दो यार, मन नहीं करता, हम direct उधर जाते." So you can get a lot of things cleared down when you go into that getting started page, and after that, go step by step. Don't go directly into your
Yeah.
API,
That's true.
because getting step by step, you will have a flow ready. Because like if you go to any YouTube video or if you go to any course that you take, you obviously go from starting, right?
Yes.
You don't directly go how to deploy that project.
Yeah. Obviously.
So that's the only thing. Like when you're reading that API documentation, also, let's say if you are going for getting a user by particular ID, as I told about that free API. If you're a developer, if you're an experienced developer, you will understand like this is how I can get all users. So you will have that understanding of the users can be returned via the ID. But if you're a fresher developer, you will first need to understand how all the users are being called.
Yes.
What's the API request made, and how you are passing the all users value. And to get a particular user, how you should pass the ID, how you should pass in like parents if you're using React or any kind of a JS framework.
Yes.
So you need to understand like how its previous API call is done to get the understanding of how that is being done, and based on that, there would be a very minor change in that API call, so that your work becomes, or your understanding becomes very easier, and you can get things done your way.
That's true. Okay. Yeah, I might have jumped to the advanced part directly. Yeah, that's great insight that you gave. One more thing that I wanted to ask is like, okay, there are many APIs that are free.
Correct.
There are many APIs that are paid.
Hmm.
Okay. There may be chance of stealing the data like paid APIs.
Yes.
And what is your thought on that? Because I have a crazy idea, but what is your thought on that?
I think the APIs that are paid, they have a security over them,
That's true.
and unless and until if you are like a Kali Linux developer, or if you're a Kali Linux enthusiast, you may know how to go with it.
Yeah.
And I think that security plays a very important role, and
That's true.
not every place has that kind of security that is done, because there are some tools, not SCM tools like source code management, but there are tools that can actually help you secure your APIs. And with like security also plays like as I said, plays a very important role, because not initially, this time when I guess Coldplay's concert was in, I guess, not in Mumbai or Ahmedabad, something like that. So see, if you know a lot of things about API, if you know how API works, you can actually get ahead of 90% of crowd. And taking the live example of that Coldplay's concert, like when people log in, what they see is like the number of people ahead of them. And I just saw a LinkedIn post wherein a guy who was a developer and who knew how to use the developer tools and the network section, he bypassed all of them.
Oh, okay.
By manipulating the API to get into just the direct payment section, so that there is no waiting time for like 1 lakh people are ahead of you.
Yes.
So he did not have to wait. He just had to apply his knowledge of API and developer tools to get the Coldplay tickets.
Live hack.
Yeah, live hacking. So this is how you can actually do things, but not always advisable. In terms of like getting tickets, it's okay. And if you're like a hardcore Coldplay fan, you can actually learn this thing kind of things. But I would not suggest going there for a
Yes, that's
complete thing.
true.
What did you have in mind? You were like crazy
So
idea.
actually, crazy idea was like every paid API gives a free trial.
Yeah.
Every free, because they want to make people know that how our API structure is and how you can benefit from us. So what I was thinking was, just write a JS script where you are just fetching whatever amount of data they are giving in free trial, writing to a database.
Okay.
Okay. So whenever rate limiting basically, yeah, they will be rate limiting because they will limit the API calls per day or
Correct,
per
yeah.
hour or per minute, anything. So whenever it's free, our API rate limiting is done, or basically we can call it again, calling, getting the data, writing to our database every time. So basically, I'm taking the data from free option and writing to my database.
Okay, so like
That.
taking data from all the free paid APIs, free versions, and
Yeah.
storing it in your own database.
Yeah. That was my. We can do that. It's not. Okay, we can.
Just for
but
practice, you can do,
yeah, just for
but not
practice.
legally.
Yeah, it's not, obviously it's not legal, but that's why I said that
Yeah,
it was
like
a crazy
actually you
idea.
can do. Like you do it and do let us know your experience. How is it?
I don't want to be sued.
Unless and until you are having any legal case on
That's what I said. I don't want to be sued.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a thing that you can actually practice.
Yeah.
But just for practice.
Just for
Clearly, just for
practice,
practice. No,
obviously.
not for taking anyone's data.
Yeah, we are not promoting any unethical means.
Yeah.
Okay.
We are just telling if you are a
Yeah.
tech geek or
You
if
can
you are
try,
into
yes.
proper tech, you can explore things just for your own understanding,
Yes.
but not for exploiting anything.
Yes.
Unless you will be coming like coding Adda में बताया तो हम कर देते हैं. So that's
Nah,
not
man.
the thing. Correct. Yeah.
That's true. And one more thing is ki API has their benefits. According to what I see and what I have observed, we can say that API just covers the complexity or complex code base that is written behind it. To just give data like that.
API plays a very important role in it is the core thing of any communication.
Yeah.
Like if you are having a client, you are having a server, how will you connect it?
Yes, that's true.
There should be a medium to connect. So like API is a lot.
You know what? I believed ki if I was writing content in JS, I have to write my backend in JS, I have to write my API in JS. But that's not true. We can write our backend in C++, we can create our API in C++, we can do that thing in Python, Java, any stuff, any stuff.
It's like and it is in fact used in many of the companies. If you have known a lot of things about different companies, it's like they don't use a complete stack for APIs. So I have been working upon with Django. Like the backend API is made in Django.
Okay.
In a single project. Okay. Yeah, talking about single project. Let's say you are having a dashboard. The main data that you are getting is from Django, Django server and SQLDB. And there are some things that you need from a different API. So you are making it in JS. Sometimes you are making it in TypeScript.
Yeah.
But at the end, what is there? Like the response that you're getting is JSON.
Yeah.
That's what you want.
Yes. And one more thing is API is not always about data. It is always about data.
API is always about data.
Always about data.
Because like when you're logging in, you are obviously getting the user data.
Yeah. Because I heard an idea that people are using double, triple backend. Because they are like, if I'm making an application in one stack, their backend, then our backend would be Node.
Node, yeah.
Yeah. So if we are then all our APIs or routes will be handled by Express.js.
Correct.
Right. So what they are doing, in my case, I was making a project with my friend. He is a Python developer.
Okay.
He created a model and he just said that I just want to make a website where I can showcase my model, or instead of saying it showcase, he wanted to use that model and create a real life application. So what I said was, we can figure a way where we can embed that model using JS. Then I can come up with this idea about double triple backend, where we hosted one more backend in Python, like Flask. He's running that model in Flask.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Through
Yeah.
API, like basically server will be running on some port, calling that port, taking data in Node.js, then to front.
Yeah,
Like
because that's what we had done. I guess I'll talk about one of my projects. It was like startup funding app. I had made that back in Sem 5 or 6. I am not sure. But it was like the front end was in Flutter, Material UI. The user authentication was done using, I guess, Node.js.
Okay.
It's like you're just authenticating the user. And then we had a Python model, ML model trained. It was like a linear regression model based on the past inputs, past data. It will just predict things. And we were like, how can we integrate it in like a Flutter application? So we were like, we had the main.py file ready. But how we were not sure how to get that model running live when we are getting the data and when we are choosing the data. So that's when I came across like, let's make a Flask API. Because making a Flask API is very easy.
Yes, actually.
And hosting it on we hosted it on pythonanywhere.com. It was free on that point of time. I don't know if it is free right now. So we made that hosted on Python anywhere. And then we made that API call in the front in the Flutter application. Like when the user chooses and when he clicks on submit, the API has been called, the model has been run, and then it has been the response is being given in a JSON format.
Yes.
So that is for like very small models, not large number of data. And for some models, you can actually go for Docker.
Yeah. Actually, I have something to say about Docker.
So it was like Docker. If you know, it's like initially it is a bit difficult to understand, but it is pretty good thing.
Yeah.
So there is one there was one project that I'm currently working. It's like a basic RAG application where you can chat with a research paper that would like actually help a lot of engineering students. So the tool that they had was it was from a different third party cloud sourcing platform, and there was no particular package to install. So they had like, you have to install that Docker image. So initially when I installed the Docker image, it was like 15 GB. While downloading it showed me 5 GB, but when it was downloading it became 15 GB, and I didn't knew it was downloading it in my C drive. And when it downloaded, I was like, bro, 1 GB left. So I guess I called you and I'm like, how do I run it? So that's when you told like, put it in your hard drive, and write a shell script that when the hard drive is connected, you can directly run the Docker image from that file. So that's when that thing became very seamless. So that's one thing where you can actually host your APIs over Docker. There are a lot of videos on YouTube wherein people make a CRUD application using Docker. To understand how DevOps is, plus how the development looks like.
Yes, Docker is like containers, not Docker, but containers. Containers are like crazy stuff, because I never knew that container can hold every dependency that we want. Because recently I used Docker for running WordPress application. WordPress application, and I was like, I started to manually set up WordPress, because we need a server, PHP, MySQL, and we need to configure that server with every port that possible. Then we need to have WordPress. But Docker is like, get the Docker compose file, run that compose file, everything will be done automatically. And when that application is running, container is running, then you can access through that port, or any customizable port you can give to it. I was like, man, this is crazy. And one more thing I wanted to tell was about load balancing. Load balancing is like DevOps part, right?
I am not sure about it. I haven't been across load balancing, but I think it is the backend part. It's like DevOps in load balancing, wherein you can get the server there to like balance the data, but to balance how data would come, or let's say if we talk about Hotstar, how they do load balancing during IPL matches, like 6 crore people live. That would be actually the backend part.
So about load balancing, and why I'm saying this is because I think it can give some reference of API. Is like when we host an application, we can directly host it, or we can host that container, which consists of every dependencies, project details, everything related.
Yeah.
So when user, like, if that application can handle 100 users, okay, 100 users, and if that limit increase to 200, then container is duplicated. That means you have two container of same application. Then load balancer is splitting that user base to different application. So here also is like it's dynamic, but through API, if we consider it like API reference, then through API we are accessing different thing and balancing user base as well.
Yeah.
So that was pretty like new thing for me, and I was like, man, there are many stuff we can do.
It's like pretty exciting. What I used to see is like, I guess during this World Cup only, the World Cup that India won this year. It was like during the final over. Initially, it was like around 3-4 crore people were watching, but during the final over, it was like 10 crore people. And initially, not when I was not a developer, I did not know about anything. I was like, okay, 10 crore people are there.
Yeah.
But when you get into like this, the tech part,
Yes.
you kind of think everything in technical way. I usually talk a bit. I'm like, I told my mom, like, how can they handle 10 crore users at a single point and also give the real time
Yes,
data?
actually.
Because getting real time data as a developer, when you are a very fresher, you're like, how can we get it?
Yes, actually.
And they're like giving it's like almost 3-4 seconds gap would be there from
But
there and here.
that latency is also very low for this much users.
Yeah, and like handling it so well, getting, because the quality type that we are getting of that video, that also does not reduce.
Actually.
And that's when services like Cloudflare comes into picture. That's what
Cloudflare is another thing, man.
that's what I learned recently. And it was like when I was watching some Netflix series, and it was like the internet at my place went out, and the internet was also off. My mobile data was also off, but the video was getting played for like, let's say, like 15-20 seconds more.
Okay.
With the same quality, and then it reduced a bit. That's when I was thinking like, how is it doing? So that's when I went to Cloudflare. That's when I got to know, there are things that you don't know a lot, and there are something called service workers that work on Cloudflare, and that's majorly used in companies like Amazon Prime, Hotstar, YouTube.
Okay, basically OTT platform.
OTT platforms, and the term that they use is CDN, Content Delivery Network.
Yes,
because it's like based on your bandwidth of the network.
Yes.
You can actually manipulate the quality of data.
Yes.
That you get, because if you see on a YouTube video, if you are having a very bad internet connection, it will be loading, but it will be loading on 144p.
Okay, I guess CDN also refers to if I'm in Mumbai and the closest server is in Mumbai.
Yeah, it will connect with you that.
Yes. Okay.
So there also it's like load balancing only, as you said.
Actually,
it usually passes or creates the different images and gives you the nearest server that you have.
But instead of users, I think it prioritizes how fast it can deliver.
Yeah.
Or basically latency part.
And that's where the API plays a very important role. And I think that API is something that we can like keep on talking a lot, sharing our experiences. And we are like, let's have this Dev Exchange episode at my home. It's like, if you see, it's like very casual episode, because it was like a last moment preparation that we had.
Yeah.
And when he came,
not
he
even
was like,
preparation.
Yeah,
we are like, I came here, and Aditya is like, you know what? We should record one episode. And he was like, which topic we should speak on? So
he took like 5 minutes. Let's talk on API.
APIs, yeah.
He was into his phone, researching about from his side. I was in my phone. What should I talk?
Yes, and because if you say I'm literally curious about how APIs are made, what are best practices, what can we do with that, how this large amount of data is handled through APIs, how this communication is possible, how everything is going on. Yeah, I was curious. You know what? Let's speak on this.
And also one thing, when I went to that, as I told about that guy who told about that how
That,
you can handle
status
the
code,
data,
status code.
status code part.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk on a video, but I was not sure like what would be the topic,
Okay.
and that's where we did not even think about that direction should be one such way where we can talk about this. But yeah, that's one thing that I got to convey to a lot of you guys. And yeah, this is basically a like playlist where we are talking in depth about tech. And if you see, like, it's not some bakchodi that we are doing. It's just we are discussing what
Sensor.
it's we're just discussing what we have in mind, and completely raw conversation, completely like raw, because I don't have anything
We
to
don't
speak.
have words to speak.
Yeah. So yeah, this I think that was
That was it, yeah.
for the video. We initially we had planned like, bro, 15 minute में कर लेंगे, but I think it's an hour right now.
It's an hour actually.
It's like, भाई 5:30 तक खत्म कर रहे हैं, मेरे को
Yes,
बाहर जाना है, अब 6:30 हो गए.
Yeah, so that was it for this video. I think we have shared our experiences and we filled your, his, and my knowledge gap with this conversation. I think you like this. If you like this, not I think. If you
Harry
like
is very
this,
bad at editing videos.
yeah.
bro.
Sorry, man. Sorry. because if you see in this community session which we had,
The video will be out. I guess, yeah, the video is already out.
yeah,
Just go and see that video.
yes. So yeah, if you like this video, please do share with your friends, family members, and any experienced people. Let them judge us about our knowledge and what
Yeah.
we know. And if you know anything better, please comment it.
Yeah, obviously we are open to learn from you guys, and
Yes.
would like to know all of your experiences. If you're like a fresher, there is no need for like you need to be an experienced guy, or you need to
Yeah.
be a developer, proper developer. But you can obviously share your experiences, your point of views on this conversation, and
Yes.
the first conversation that we had on like cloning
Yeah,
projects.
cloning projects. Yeah.
So you can obviously talk about it over there, and we'll be happy to discuss over it.
Yes.
And this particular playlist, what I see is not about
knowing everything.
knowing everything, but sharing sharing everything that we know,
Yeah.
and talking with people
Yeah.
from different areas of the industry, and bringing them over to just have their experiences shared.
Yeah, because I think whenever we research or whenever we do like YT anything or ChatGPT anything, we just get generic data like what is API, where is
Yeah.
like how can we use it. We are not getting any like genuine discussion or genuine approach or genuine like experience about it. Like how a developer who is experienced, who is fresher, who is in a middle level is thinking about it. So our aim was to share our experience basically about different topics.
And it's not like the format, as you see, this is not like a podcast format as
Yeah,
well.
it's
Because
very
in
casual.
podcast, it's like you are being very formal, you are just talking.
Yeah.
This is like a very casual. If you see, I will not show what is down, because we are sitting in our shorts,
Yeah.
just talking. So this is purely about like you can say like heart-to-heart conversation about tech. And yeah, I think Hari told a very good outro. And yeah, see you guys in the next Dev Exchange episode, which will probably be out very soon.
Yeah.
And as we told, like we are planning 2 episodes every month.
Yes.
So we are also pretty excited to see what the next episode holds for us and has for us. So yeah, see you guys in the next episode. Until then, bye-bye.